Good evening, everyone. How are you? So, we are 5 hours past Armageddon for the Mets, the trade deadline. The deadline that may have shown us that Stearns has punted on the decade. And we may have to wait till 2030 to field a team that looks and feels like a major league team. Uh, did a great show earlier. Thank you to Mike Massa, who took some time out to be with me. We did get sidetracked a bit, and I did speak to a couple of my friends that are in baseball, and they gave me a little more of the lowdown of what the Mets were thinking behind these trades, some of the actual prospect projections. And I figured that let me come on with a little quieter time for you and be able to go through this. So when you trade expiring contracts, unless it's Chapman or Miller, you're not going to get top 50 prospects. I think we were all dreaming. I don't know about we all, I was. But what happened was we got disappointed with one, then another, then another. But when I spoke to a couple of my friends that are in the business of rating prospects and they know agents, a spirited conversation for the good. Now, the Mets have recalled, unofficially, it has to be at midnight, but the Mets are recalling as of tomorrow Daniel Nunez, Jeffrey Yan, Nate Lavender, Chase McDermott, who they acquired from the Dodgers by sending a minor league catcher over there today, actually. Xavier Curry's coming back, and Kristen Pache. So they will be here, and we'll see how it goes. Now, Nunez obviously had Tommy John surgery a year ago, and he's been pitching in the minors, rehab, 13 innings. He's been pitching for Syracuse, 4 ERA, 3.81 FIP, which means that he's pitching a little bad luck. In 42 or 44 innings before his elbow injury, he had an ERA under 3 at 2.62, fielding independent pitching ERA. So he was great. And it's going to be good to see him back in the Met uniform. Yan is a 29-year-old pitcher who took a long break from baseball in the late 2010s, and he's going to make his major league debut whenever he appears in the game, which will probably be this week. He's been in the Mets organization since the start of this season, and he's had a great strikeout rate, 44%, but an unbelievable walk rate, 3.24 ERA, 2.64 FIP, so he's pitching better than the ERA, but a 15.8 walk rate. And he split his time between AA Binghamton and AAA Syracuse. And he's known for his eccentric strikeout celebration. So that might keep some people in the seats during the dog days of August when we're 25 games under 500. Lavender's a left-hand reliever. He's been in the Mets system since they drafted him 5 years ago. 7 innings in 24. Had an injury, missed the 25 season. He's thrown 43 innings in the minors, 3.77 ERA. He's been affected by some bad fielding, 2.78 FIP. He's pitched much better than his ERA, about a run better. And he'll be making his debut when he gets into a game. That'll probably be this week. McDermott's a 27-year-old right-hander that came to the Mets when they traded their minor league catcher, Ben Robert, back to the Dodgers today. He's thrown 15 major league innings with the Orioles and Dodgers as an ERA of about 900 and a FIP of 8.74. So, look, 31 innings, 4.55 ERA in AAA this year. Dodgers aren't trading him if he's any good, but he'll probably be our number 2 reliever. Curry's thrown 11 innings for the Mets. He's been very lucky, 3.27 ERA. His FIP's about 5. I remember a couple of great double plays that got him out of jams. We'll see how he does. And then at last but not least, Patience, a right-hand hitter, 27 years of age, was considered a top 10, 100 prospect up until about 4 years ago. He was in the Braves minor league system. He's 610 plate appearances in the big leagues. He's hit 180, fits perfectly into the middle of the order. A WRC plus of about 46. He's 50% worse than the average major league hitter. He hasn't hit much better in Syracuse. He's hitting 232, 62 WRC plus. So he's not all that good, but it's better than Semien. So we'll see now what happens with that. As for the trades, quite a few to get through. Now, this was a straightforward deadline for Stearns. He had no choice. Okay? They emptied out their bullpen, traded all of their expiring contracts. They brought back about 12 minor league players. Only hardcore baseball guys have heard of any of these players, but I'm going to give you some background on them. It takes a few years to get a true picture, 3 to 5, of how David Stearns did here. He probably won't be here by the time that happens. But we know selling was necessary. Every decision he made on the major league level failed this year. So I don't care what you say. This is rebuilding. Okay, you're going to have probably 5 players on the roster last year that you had this year. It's rebuilding. And Stearns has to rebuild his reputation as well. Don't know if he'll ever be able to do that, at least here. We wanted high-profile prospects in return. Okay, we got one, Jefferson Rojas. He's on a couple of top 100 lists, but rankings always aren't an indicator in judging deals. Scouts that I've talked to, and people in the know, think the Mets did a lot better than the public knows. Okay. Also, you have players that could have great years like Ewing and get into the top 100 when you were outside of the top 100. So is it possible that the Mets could have 2 guys or 3 guys that hit the top 100? Maybe. You don't know. Rojas looks to be the only player that next year could have an impact in Queens. Okay? If they're going to contend next year, and they say that's their intent, I don't believe it. They're going to have a lot of work to do this winter, rebuilding a bullpen and seeing what happens, because it's a shit show right now. But, could Stearns have been more creative? Maybe trying to get Toronto to take back Bichette, maybe. But they may have been able to bring back some controllable pieces of pitcher, maybe. But the most important thing for Stearns was filling up the minor leagues. And this really, he treated this as a draft day. At least 8 of these prospects, I question if they'll ever play a game for the New York Mets. There are a couple that I think will be regulars, possibly. So let's see. Okay, and welcome everybody in here. Ray, how are you? They're going to, and I have a feeling, hey, BJ, I have a feeling Stearns, one of the things that he feels very confident about, and he probably has Cohen feeling the same way, is that he can build a bullpen. So I'm not worried about him finding some bullpen pieces, but we'll see what happens. Okay, Clay Holmes and Tyrone Taylor to the Cubs for minor league infielder Jefferson Rojas. I told you last week Cubs had no interest in Peralta. I told you they were going to get Holmes. Did I not? Well, they got him. They were going to get him for Raley, with Raley. But what happened was the Mets liked the offer that they got for Raley better and went with Tyrone Taylor. Now, he's the highest profile prospect that the Mets acquired. The only one ranked in a couple of top 100s. He's 21 years of age. He's ranked 63rd in MLB top 100. He's lower on a couple of other lists, and he impacts as a hitter in the big leagues. He's always been an advanced hitter, natural ability to recognize spin, hit strikes. One scout, he gets the barrel to the ball naturally, which is a skill set you really can't teach. Go ask Alvarez. And there's a lot of room for growth. and he was a pretty young guy to be in Double A. He was hitting 270 in Double A, 15 homers, 19 doubles, 466 slug, 799 OPS. Also had 17 stolen bases, caught 5 times. He only has average speed. He was pulling a Soto down there and getting good reads. Now, his instincts make him a good base runner more than his speed. He's a really good base runner. And that counts, actually, we've seen. Soto's not fast and stole, right? 40 bases, almost 40. So he's played mostly shortstop with his defense considered average. But scouts say he'll probably wind up at second base or third base and be above average. Interesting thing, when Stearns had the press conference, he said he can play shortstop. I think that was a total Freudian slip because Stearns is going to try to trade Lindor. Now, all in all, with Holmes having a buyout and Taylor on an expiring contract, and Taylor you couldn't have given away 2 months ago. No one would have even taken him. So I think it was a solid get for the Mets. They got a top 100 prospect. Okay, I wouldn't say it's a great move, but they got a guy that might be a pretty good Major League Baseball player, and he has evolved enough to think that he'll maybe be a starter, and at the very least, a guy that you thought Acuna would be, a guy that roams the infield with positive bat speed, and a guy that can hit you 270, 280. And hit 280 today is like 320 10 years ago. Now, Luke Weaver went to the Pirates for minor league shortstop Sammy Stafara. Sammy Stafara was off my radar. I understand from my friend that the Mets have been looking at him for 2 weeks. Okay. And it was well received by a lot of people in the Met organization. The rarely trade they were split on, and that's why they didn't trade him to the Cubs, because they liked the other. And if you remember, I told you last night when I came on here for Brazaban that by noon, the Mets would have traded one of the relievers. I was right because my friend told me that. He was in the office, the MLB office. Now, he's from Cortland, New York. He was a number 9 ranked prospect in the Pirates system. 2 scouts think that he's a borderline blue chipper. I was told that no one would be surprised if this kid was a top 50 to 60 prospect next year. A legitimate pop. He's smooth defensively. He should be able to stay at shortstop. Interestingly enough, the Mets were filling the infield. And I'll tell you why. Because of Vientos, Beatty, Acuna. None of them worked out. Mauricio. The Mets know their outfield is set for at least 7 years. They didn't have to go after any outfielders. If you notice, they didn't care to. The pitching's very hard to get. Mets concentrate on building infield depth because very, very bad class of 5 years ago with Beatty and them. They failed. So they're trying to rebuild that. I think that he has a chance to be a pretty impactful bat for the Mets. There's a lot of swing and misses there. He's hitting 300 in high A. That's young enough that you can grow into a better overall hitter to go with the power. We'll see. Since promoted to high A, he's slugging 656, over 1,000 OPS, 19 homers in 47 games. Obviously, he is way out of his league. He should be raised up, and he'll probably go to Double A. Now, the knock on the deal is that Stafora is not ready and will not be ready until 28. Absolutely. My friend said he won't even get a call-up next September. They're not going to ruin him. They're not going to rush him. Okay? So he needs another season in the minors. I'm not thrilled about that. But I am thrilled about it if he turns out to be a really good player for 10 years. Now, the Mets are paying $8 million of Weaver's contract. That's the reason why they got this player. $6 million next season. They're paying of it. So there were other pursuers that would have taken on the whole contract. So that's just an indication that the Mets loved Stafara. And they've been talking about him, from what I heard, for a couple of weeks. So that's who they were aiming with Pittsburgh, and they weren't letting him get away. So he must be a guy that they feel can really grow. Okay. Look at Ewing. Ewing wasn't a top 100 prospect, and we root for Ewing every day, and we think he's going to steal 50 bases. The Freddie Peralta to Tampa. The Mets were offered something from Milwaukee. It wasn't enough, and Stearns did not want to trade with Milwaukee because pretty much then he traded nothing and gave up everything. With Tampa, they get Aiden Smith, who's an outfielder, right-hand pitcher Gary Gil-Hill, and second base Emilian Petre. Petre is not quite as good a prospect as Stafora, but that could flip when these guys are this age. There are no high ceiling prospects in this trade, but many people feel that Emilian Petre will become one. Now, because of Peralta's value, undoubtedly, that's why you didn't get a top 100 prospect. The Rays think they can fix Peralta. We've been saying that this on this channel all week, right? And I'm sure he will be fixed. They're very good at that as well. So they gave up a couple of guys with potential. Okay. A couple of people think the Mets did actually very well for the season Peralta was having. Okay, now the key prospect is a 23-year-old second baseman, Petre. He's a former number 2 choice out of Kentucky a couple of years ago. Good contact hitter, great plate discipline. Hits the ball on the ground more than you'd like, kind of a Brett Beatty syndrome. But if he learns to hit the ball in the air, he has a chance to be a regular second baseman at some point, where he could hit 10 to 15 home runs because his plate discipline's that good, where he could be a higher average hitter. High contact is tremendous in his arsenal. It always has been. High A and double A. He's hitting 308, 438 on base percentage, 28 extra base hits, 447 slugging percentage for a guy that can't raise the ball yet with loft. Good sign. 70 walks, only 40 strikeouts this season. Highest walk to strikeout rate of any young player in the minors with at least 200 at bats. So that's somewhere to start. And you just hope the Mets don't ruin him. Hill is 21 years of age. He's a field pitcher. He's a good field pitcher. He has a decent slider. His fastball gets hit hard. Exit velos in the 90s to 105s. So with some growth, he may be a back-end starter. He's probably going to remind you of a right-handed Zach Thornton. There'll be one of every 7 games. He'll go 4 runs in 3 innings, and then he'll go 5 innings with 2 runs, 6 innings with 3 runs. He'll keep you in the game pretty much. But I have a feeling he's going to be on the Syracuse shuttle for the next 7 years, up and down like, a guy with options. Smith was a highly regarded prospect, much like Jet Williams now with Milwaukee, who's gone backwards over the last couple of seasons. He had a rough season repeating his high A this year. A couple of years ago, he was top 100 or heading there. Brooks Raley was sent to Philly for 2 minor leaguers, John Spikerman, good name, and righty Luke Gabrish. Gabrish isn't even rated. Raley was the top left-hander that the Mets have had in their system for a very long time, in their major league system. He's been great for the Mets. And so the return feels a little light because Raley's been that good for the Mets. Gabrish is probably the guy they were targeting. I don't think Spikerman's going to ever make the major leagues. He's a 23-year-old former targeted player by many teams. Gets a lot of swings and misses. And his fastball is a couple of different breaking balls. It breaks to one side, the other side. So his fastball breaks, which is pretty good. 89 strikeouts and 61 innings in high A. His stuff is significant. And his ERA of 5.14 and 34 walks are what would lend you to believe that he's really a flyer. Now, if the Mets can ever work things out, they might have a good back of the bullpen arm. It's a lottery ticket. You could dream of him gaining command and throwing 100 miles an hour in the eighth inning in 3 years, or you could dream of him never coming up. Spikerman is a throw-in. He's a 23-year-old outfielder, high A, good defense, center field, a good eye, plate discipline, no power. I don't think he has a home run this year. So it's a little light. I thought they'd get more for Raley. But what are you going to do? Especially that Philly didn't pay the in-division tax, which I thought the Mets would make them pay. Huascar Brazoban to the White Sox for 2 minor leaguers, Gabe Davis and Zach Franklin. Gabe Davis, undoubtedly, I think he'll be up this year and certainly be in the bullpen next year. Now, Brazoban's having a great year. Okay, he has 3 more years of contract control to bring him into his 40th year. Did you really have to trade him when you can send them up and down, and they love to do that, the Mets? Or are they just looking past 2027? Yeah, I think it's more that they know they're not going to compete next year. They're going to tell you they are. They're sending out the bills for the season tickets in a couple of weeks. They like Davis. He's 22 years of age. He has a high ceiling as a starter, 96 to 98 in the fastball, terrific curveball. He hasn't been great in the minor leagues, 7 ERA in high A, double A this year, but they feel that they can help him in this Met lab. They think they have a great lab. We'll see what happens. He was a 5th-round choice out of Oklahoma State, and he played with Carson Benj and Nolan McLean. So maybe they feel some of that will rub off on him. At one time, he was projected as a first-round pick, but he didn't throw enough strikes, wound up in the bullpen at Oklahoma State. He has potential, and at times you could see it, but he doesn't command his stuff. It's a leap of faith, but people hit the lottery. If this guy learns how to throw more strikes, he might be a very good arm. Franklin's a 27-year-old, 4.5 ERA, AAA. He's a journeyman reliever. He's a guy that's going to be called up and down for 6-7 years. He's the guy that'll be called up when there's an injury, play here a week, and I really doubt he's going to be successful. A.J. Minter to the Minnesota Twins for 2 minor leaguers, Billy Amick and Brune Agbayani. Brune Agbayani's claim to fame is he's Benny Agbayani's son. I was at the Met game when Agbayani hit his first home run, first at bat, 1973. He was the 21st ranked Twins prospect, pipeline, corner infielder, enough power to interest the Mets. He automatically becomes the top home run hitter in the Met organization. Agbayani, middle infielder, 27th ranked in the Twins prospect, both out of the top 100. Minter's a rental. You weren't going to get great value. It's about what you'd expect again. Amick's power is worth taking the flyer on, but I don't think they look like major league players. Now, with Freddie Peralta, Tampa Bay pivoted quickly. They were in on Skubal, and they didn't want to wait until tomorrow, which was the day before. Freddie Peralta joined the Mets from Milwaukee. A lot of fanfare. We got our ace. He's coming off a strong 5-6 years with Milwaukee. Had his career year last year. And he was going to lead the Mets into the playoffs. The Mets had a 90% chance to make the playoffs. Instead, he became one of the worst acquisitions that we ever had. And one of many by Stearns. Now, we had a 3.3 ERA the last 5 years. Now it's about 5. 22 starts. I can count 3 or 4 that were not bad. The strikeout rate's dipped. He's giving up much more of hard contact, way fewer whiffs and swing and misses. It's a concern. It's difficult to pinpoint what's wrong with him. For such a guy that has been so dependable for 5 years, who's only he's under 30 or under, to just take this step back. His stuff's only slightly down, and that could be just that he's really maxed out mentally. His mix hasn't changed. His arm angle has dropped a little, and it's a weird one. Now it's Tampa Bay's deal to get him better, and I'm sure they will. Their track record of pitching development is bar none. Their pitching coach, Kyle Snyder's wonderful. And I think they've done a lot more with less. And I think that Freddie's going to have a 3 ERA his next 6 starts. Now, Shane McClanahan has a back issue. He could be out 2 weeks or 2 months. Now, should the Rays have tried to get Skubal? Probably. They might have actually won the World Series, but it was just too much of an ask. They don't have 2 100 prospects that they're willing to give up. And they're not going to pay Skubal. So you're really trading away young guys. And you're not trading Skubal. Skubal will probably play with the Dodgers next year. But I think Petrie, again, he's from Canada. He's an elite hitter. I really do believe that. Now, I was told by a friend that Emilian Petrie could actually be a Stephen Kwan type hitter. Or an Adam Frazier, lower end. We'll see. Gary Gilhill. It's a nice homecoming. He's from Westchester. The Mets have developed some pitchers. Not Tom. But I could see him pitching here next year. I could see him actually getting the call up with Gabe Davis. Because I think Gabe Davis will be, if not in the rotation, certainly helping the Mets out. It was a deal that had to be done, obviously. I think the change of scenery will help Peralta. I don't know how much it's going to help us for quite a while. Gio, I think he just, hey, Tuck, I think he just, everything went wrong and he expected everything to go wrong every time he went out there. That's what I think happened. He was fine the first week or 2 of the season. As soon as the Mets went bad, that's when he went bad. Yeah, you're right. Well, I don't think Jet Williams is a top 100 anymore. He's really regressed. Jet Williams arguably has regressed as much as Jonathan has. And Sproat's going to be Sproat. Sproat's a number 4 or 5. Cy, no, I think they're punting. He'll still only be 30 in 3 years, Soto. I think they're punting until at least 28. There's no free agent class this year. There's no one. The only guy that you could actually sign is the Yankee second baseman. That's the best player as a free agent. You don't want him on this clubhouse, and you don't want him in this clubhouse. They'll never put him in this clubhouse. He's a problem. But you're right, Ray. They are monopoly pieces. That's all they are. Well, Tuck, if Peralta goes out and has a 2.9 ERA and goes 5-1 in his next 6 and pitches well in the playoffs, they will chalk it up to it was a bad Met year and the Mets even ruined him. I don't think he'll cost himself all that much. Probably a little, but he'll recoup most of it. Freddie Peralta was never getting 8 years. Freddie Peralta right now would probably find someone to pay him $135 million 5 years. Somewhere in that range. Terrible. It is, Derek. It is terrible. The Mets just didn't know where to go with this. You know what happened? This is like a hurricane hitting your house when you live in a place that there's never been a hurricane. you don't know what to do. You look at each other like, did that really happen? You don't know what to do. The Mets were like number 3 to win the World Series. They're all lottery tickets. But honestly, minor league plays, unless you're a number 1 or number 2 prospect, all are lottery tickets. Look at Gary Sanchez. He didn't make it. Look at across the river. Everyone was blowing Volpe 2 years ago. They can't wait to get rid of Volpe. Volpe is the worst hitter in the major leagues. Volpe was a can't-miss shortstop for the next 10 years. Jabba Chamberlain, can't-miss guy. Bird, injury, can't miss. Right? Dominguez, the next Mickey Mantle. How's Dominguez doing with the Yankees? There's no guarantee. There is no guarantee. If Dominguez doesn't show you that, they had Dominguez, the next A-Rod. Dominguez can't, if you throw a ball 5 feet to him, he'd miss it. He's the worst fielder I've ever seen. He can't even play left field, and he's a kid. You think he's going to get any better in left field? But I agree with you. Well, I told you who they're bringing up. They're bringing up Daniel Nunez, Jeffrey Yan, Nate Lavender, Chase McDermott, and Xavier Curry. And those guys will be in the bullpen this week. Spaced out. Then I bring up 5 in one day. But Daniel Nunez and Jeffrey Yan will probably join them in Cleveland. Probably. With Nate Lavender. I think McDermott has to get here from L.A. I don't know how long it'll take him. And Xavier Curry and Kristen Pace. Pace is a position player. Pace is taking Tyrone Taylor's spot. I was told that no one wanted Robert. That Stearns has been trying to get rid of Robert for 2 weeks. No one wanted Robert. The only team that wanted him wanted you to pay most of his contract. The Phillies were willing to take him. You had to pay 15 of the $22 million each year. And the Mets, I think, offered 8. They offered what they were going to pay for Robinson, for Weaver. And Philly wouldn't do it. Now, well, I will tell you this much. Don't be surprised, and you heard it here, if from this week on, Daniel Nunez is your best relief pitcher. There's a very good chance Daniel Nunez might have a 2.8 ERA September 29th. He has outstanding stuff. He was lights out for the Mets a couple of years ago. I totally expect him to be good. I think Jeffrey Yan will help. I think Chase McDermott will end up getting released. And Nate Lavender is a piece. Now, the Mets do have 2 players. I'll give them to you. That they wanted to bring up, but there was they argued internally. I'll give you the 2 guys. They had the pitchers were Ryan Lambert and Jack Wenninger. The Mets almost had a deal for Tauchman, but he wasn't ready to play. The Pirates were interested in Tauchman. They have to remember, Pintaro's on the 40-man roster, so is Jonah Tong, so is Alex Carrillo. So one of those will be up. Jonah Tong will be up September 1st. At the end of the week, Nick Morabito will be called up. In fact, I think he might be getting called up this week. He might be one of them. brought up Kristen Pace for a reason. I forget what it was, but Morabito will finish the season with the Mets. Within a week or two, he'll be up. Yeah, Nunez will be your best pitcher in the bullpen. And in fact, you want me to give you some stats? Nunez in the next 50 games will probably get in 15 games. He'll have an ERA of 3, and he'll strike out more than 1 inning. Off the Tommy John, the walks will be a problem, just like they were for Christian Scott. When you come off of Tommy John, that's the first thing you have to get back is your control. Usually you're throwing harder, and that's also why. You have to remember, when you have Tommy John, your arm angle is different. It's kind of like if you have a car accident and get your fender and everything done, the car is not the exact weight as it was when it left the showroom. It's not the exact weight. Replacement part, it's not the exact weight. Your arm angle is automatically different when you have Tommy John. And you have to learn muscle memory. That's why the control is the first thing that goes with Tommy John. I was also told that the Met pitcher that Celino, what was his name? Gomez or whatever, Sanchez, he's probably going to need Tommy John. The kid that was pitching good, the lefty for the Mets, they think he needs Tommy John. They'll know more next week. They have him going to see a specialist in LA. But look, Aiden Smith, right? Aiden Smith projects high ceiling Harrison Bader, who they got from Tampa. Gary Gilhill, Miles Mikolas, before he was terrible, or Zach Davis. Like I said, Emilian Petre, they think he could be Stephen Kwan. Great bat control, 280 hitter. Sammy Stafora, Volpe. Best case scenario, Trevor Story. That would be a stretch. But he did what he had to do. He got rid of everybody. And now we'll see where it lies. But this is terrible. Nunez isn't crap. Nunez is a good relief pitcher. Nunez will be good this year. He's got a good arm. But the Mets, I don't think I've ever, and I'm being serious here, and you guys can chime in and tell me if you've ever seen this. Okay. Have you ever seen a team pick to possibly win the division and win 90 games, lose 100? I don't think that's ever happened before. Think about it. Can you imagine getting picked to win 90 and you lose 95? And if I would have told you at the beginning of the year, remember that guy Ewing? He came up and hit 270. He looked great. Remember that guy Benj? Probably be third in the rookie of the year balloting. Hits 260. He's going to hit 18 homers, 60 RBIs. Well, Gio, that's the breaking pitches to control. Absolutely. He might not get that back. 200 RPM isn't going to kill you because usually you're between 25 and 2,800 RPM. A good slider is probably 2,800 RPM. So it's not going to probably kill you. I'm more concerned that he's healthy. Because, you can always work that stuff out. But if you're not healthy, you can't pitch at all. Yes, game. That glove is nice. I'll give him that, Lindor. That glove is nice. Hey, wonderful. How are you? Yeah, Tuck. It's funny. You mentioned that. You have to watch this team every day to see how bad they are. I totally agree with you. They are just. They look like a AAA team. I'm being serious. They look like a AAA team. You have starters in this lineup that are hitting 180. I mean, that have been up 150 times. Polanco. Well, first of all, Polanco's lost. Polanco is Peralta. If you traded Polanco tomorrow, he'd hit 260 the rest of the year somewhere. Absolutely. No doubt in my mind. He's just lost. You have to remember, when you come to the park every day and you know you're coming for nothing and you know the media is killing you, and it's very hard. Oh, I'm well. Thank you, man. Oh, game. I'm glad you are having a good night. I am well. Thank you, sir. Or young lady. I don't know if you're a man or a woman, but thank you anyway. Doesn't matter. Uh, Always clean cut for my streams. Eh, I throw the shirt on. I had a bathrobe on before. They might as well. I'll tell you the truth, Game and Ray. I'm not so sure that if you brought up the whole AAA team, they wouldn't win more games than the Mets. And I'm being dead serious. That's the problem. I'm being serious. If you gave me Soto and put him on the team, give me Soto and Bichette with the AAA Mets and bring them up. And I bet you they would play probably better. Hey, Shay, how are you? Thank you. I appreciate that. I got no sleep. I was up till 2 in the morning. I did the Brazaban thing. Then, of course, the moron I am, which don't argue too hard, I had a cup of coffee. And that was it. Waffle, I totally agree with you. Isn't it sad? I just don't get it. And I'll tell you why I don't get it. Yes, Gio. No, the Mets did get a couple of good prospects back here. The problem is they're not going to be good till 30, the Mets. What are we going to do for 3 years? This is my problem. And I'm really interested in what you guys have to say. You know, my guys, Game and Ray and all of you, Waffle. I trust you guys. Gio, Shay. This is the problem I have with this. Maybe you could tell me. Nunez isn't bad, Game. He'll have his good moments. Oh, he'll have a 3.3 ERA, 3.2 ERA. He'll be one of the better ones in the bullpen. How the hell does a guy that's a brilliant businessman who wasn't left money from his family and is worth billions of dollars, he couldn't have just gotten stupid. You can't convince me that all of a sudden Cohen's a moron. I can't imagine that Cohen is a sucker, where you could say, give me $1 million, I'll give you $3 million tomorrow. Okay. You don't think he has heard every story? He's almost 70, I think, or 70. He's heard every story in the book. This guy is a mega finance guy. He's heard every story in the book. Can it be that Stearns is really selling him a bill of goods? I can't imagine Cohen's that stupid. Yeah, but that doesn't mean he's stupid. That doesn't mean he's stupid. He could be misguided with that. He has given Republicans money too in the past. Only the last couple of years he's gotten very into the Democratic Party. That's probably because of his wife. But he has funded Republicans as well over the last 15 years. But tell me, he didn't get stupid all of a sudden, Cohen. His advisors that he trusts with his life, and I told you last month that this guy was talking to his advisors, and then it came out he was. You can't tell me that if four of them tell him that have made him the billionaire that he is, you got to let Stearns go. Steve, you're looking with tunnel vision here. You got to get him. You got to let him go. You can't tell me that Cohen wouldn't have said okay. Because there's one thing about Cohen. He listens to his people, and I'll tell you why. He listens to Stearns. He doesn't know Stearns all that well. So guys that he's been with 25 years or 30 years, if they're going to tell him, you got to move on. It was a bad decision. Cut your losses. You're going to lose money here. You're ruining your reputation. It's going to take you a long time to build. He would have moved on from Stearns. I know for a fact, I told you, he fired Mendoza. He called Stearns at 5 o'clock in the morning. I know that for a fact. And he said, Mendy has to go. David, I know how you feel about him. And if you want, I'll be on the call with you. And he was on the call with him. Almost apologetic. But I think that really? Well, there you go. That's why. Wonderful. And that's the reason. Well, Don Mattingly's son is the assistant GM in Philly. I think that I don't trust Stearns. Let me put that out there. I agree, Waffle, but I was a stockbroker for years. I worked in England. I managed a small cap fund. I know what I'm doing. There has to be more to it. I'm not saying pictures, the stupid shit that people say. There has to be more to it. There is just no explanation of why a multi-billionaire, not a billionaire, a multi-billionaire would get stupid all of a sudden because a 40-year-old Harvard graduate snows him. First of all, you don't think Cohen has dealt with the most brilliant minds in the business, smarter than David Stearns? He deals with tech guys. Maybe not with Elon Musk, but he deals with guys that are geniuses. He must hold his own. Either that or he trusts the people around him. Obviously, the people around him haven't said, get rid of David. Because, look, he's only owed 2 years now. He has a Picasso hanging in his fucking kitchen. You think he gives a shit about $20 million, David Stearns, Cohen? You really think he gives a shit about writing Stearns a check? He couldn't care less about that. This guy said, give him an eye at $25 million. And he said, where do I sign? Steve, David. He doesn't give a shit about $20 million. He could fire him and not even blink about it. There's a reason. Now, I'll tell you what I think it is. I wasn't told this. I might be totally wrong. And I'm not telling you guys I was told this. I'm not telling you even to listen to it. David Stearns has something to do with the casino. I don't know what. He will be involved with that casino in the finance department. This is my feeling. I have a feeling that David Stearns helped him with the negotiating for the casino. I have a feeling that David Stearns, let me tell you something. Press 1 if you want to hear my theory. Just to know that you're just listening, not listening, more listening. Hey, PJ. And I will tell you why. Shay and Laz, you don't pay a president of baseball operations $10 fucking million over 5 years, $10 million a year. You don't do it. He's doing something else for you. A Pobo makes $3-4 million, not 10. This guy is not Theo Epstein. Theo Epstein should get, Cohen should blow him every morning and give him $100 million a day. Theo Epstein took a franchise that hadn't won in 100,000 fucking years and won a World Series with them, left them, went to the Cubs and fucking won with them too. And they hadn't won in 100 years. Theo Epstein should make $10 million. He took 2 franchises that had never won a thing. And Boston won a couple of them. This isn't about only the Mets, people. He makes $10 million a year. I don't give a shit. They wouldn't give a raise to the first base coach and they let him go to Atlanta for $100,000. There is no way. No way. Because Soto is close enough. He's your big ticket. He's close enough to Cohen to call Cohen and say, Steve, I want this guy to stay. I feel great. He made every base runner better. We set an all-time record. Major league in history, we stole more bases percentile-wise. I want him to stay. If the guy that you're giving $800 million to says, I want the first baseman to stay, the coach, guess what? He's staying. Stearns didn't want him to stay. Maybe he had too much voice. But you don't give a guy $10 million to be your president of baseball operations. 5, 4, 7, 10. He's never won a thing. If Theo Epstein says, I want 15, why do you think you deserve 15? Well, remember the Boston Red Sox who hadn't won in 100 years? I won them a couple. Then I went to the Cubs because I was fucking bored, and I won them one. Okay, here, Theo. Theo's worth it. Not Stearns. Cohen's not a stupid man. He deals with billions. He is not giving this guy $10 million a year to run the Mets. He's giving him $10 million a year if he's helping you land the casino and do things that you need with that. And there's no doubt Theo's a part owner. Theo, you can get Theo. He's probably going to want 5 or 10% of the team. Can I tell you something? And I mean this. Cohen just signed a deal that he's probably going to make $20 billion in the next 20 years with his casino. He won't be alive, his family, right? He's worth about $18 billion now, or $20 billion now. Hey, Brooklyn. I call Theo Epstein and I say, what do you want? I was a stockbroker. What's more to Cohen than money is his ego. I would give Theo Epstein full reign. Make him the Pobo. Put Stearns, let him be Theo's assistant, and it'll be perfect because he'll leave then. Because he has too much of an ego. Let Theo run the team. Give Theo a 10-year contract and part ownership. But I'd give him part of the casino, not the Mets, because it's not a conflict of interest if he owns a part of a baseball team, the Red Sox or whomever, if he takes the part of the casino. Taking a part of the Mets, I don't know if it's allowed. It's another baseball team. He can take part of the casino. You make billions with a casino. Give him part of the casino. Make him a small shareholder that he could opt out anytime. That's what you offer him. Come straighten out my franchise. In 5 years, no, you're right. You're right. When I was a stockbroker, when I sat down with you, when you were 35, I said, where do you want to be in 25 years? I didn't say, what do you want to go to Hawaii this summer? No. I want to make sure that you could fucking buy Hawaii in 25 years. Not that you have to fly economy, coach. That's what I used to do. Steve Cohen looks at the big picture. Cohen's looking at, how much am I going to make 8 years from now? Not now. Stockbrokers, if you're a good one, you're supposed to look at future projection, ROI, return on investment. That's what he's looking at. If you notice, everything out of Cohen's mouth was sustained success. It's like a car dealership. You don't want your salesman, hey, Nico, you don't want your salesman to fuck me over and make $7,000 more on a Jeep that's worth $35 and you charge me $42. No. You want to screw me out of $1,500 and get my business for 25 years, get my son's business, his girlfriend's business, my in-laws' business. That's what you want to do. That's what you do. Yeah, but game, Cohen wasn't left any money. Cohen did that all on his own. I checked it out already. So it's a house of cards. Some people get off on smart people. Some people like to surround themselves with smart people. It makes them feel more intelligent. I don't doubt for a second that Cohen's very intelligent. I'm sure he is. You're not stupid to make $20 billion. You're not stupid to do that. No, I know, Brooklyn. I know. He's happy. I'll give you a great story. My friend spoke to him the other day. He's a really nice guy. Brandon Nemo told my friend the story that when he was with the Mets, he heard a great story about Carlos Beltran. When R.A. Dickey was cheap as they came. He was staying at a Holiday Inn on 44th Street, Manhattan, with his family. Carlos Beltran, when he came to the Mets, said, I have a house in Connecticut. You could use it with your family. At the end of the season, he saw a bill for like $50,000 or something, or $60,000 that was left under the thing. Beltran rented it out for him and paid for it. Carlos Beltran's a really good dude. When rookies would be brought up, Carlos would bring you to Fifth Avenue and buy you 2 suits, take you to dinner, and tell you what is expected out of you as a major leaguer. Beltran's a cool dude. That's why they like him. I put away, no, not JCPenney. Put away, you used to spend like $5,000 on the guy. Put away the incident with cheating, which I'm very surprised Carlos did that actually. But Carlos won such an edge. I can't believe it, but he's such a religious guy. Carlos Beltran's very religious. Carlos Beltran, there's a chapel on the when Shea Stadium was around, there was a jail with 2 jail cells, holding cells, actually a court fucking bench. They'd call if you got arrested for running on the field, you got arraigned at Shea Stadium. You were released from Shea Stadium. They didn't bring you to the jail. A judge actually came there. and arraign you and release you. So he would have prayer sessions on Sunday mornings before games. They say he's a good dude, Carlos Beltran. So I was surprised when I heard about the cheating. I didn't believe it at first. I didn't believe it. But yeah, well, priests. Well, so was everything. PJP. I can give you priests. I can give you rabbis. When I had my social club, I had a rabbi bet 5,000 a game. When I had my social club, where did he get it? 5,000 a game. He bet 3 games on the weekend. I had 2 Hasidic Jews that bet more than my whole. I had 150 gamblers. My book. They bet more than all of them every weekend. Yes, I think that, but Stearns, this is a package deal. This has the casino involved with it. Look, no one told me this. I might be totally wrong, but $10 million is $10 million. This isn't Theo Epstein here. And stockbrokers usually, you don't have $20 billion. You don't think he negotiates with a Rembrandt when they say $10 million? Okay, here. You don't think he hires auctioneers to go and buy the paintings for him and stuff? He's not just handing a guy $10 million. There's more to it. But no, I think the only way to save this franchise, and I'm telling you, and I manage small cap funds. I worked in England. I showed you guys my ID, right, from England. I worked there 18 months. Is to hire Theo Epstein. At the very least, Theo Epstein will take a meeting with you. He'll take a meeting with you. And you sit down and you say, Theo, thank you for coming. What the fuck do I do? You rebuilt Boston, you rebuilt Chicago. I'd like to talk to you about coming on board. But what would you do? Give me a couple of scenarios that I can run by my people, my analysts who are brilliant. Cause and effect, reputation, PR department. What can I do? Do I fess up that we made the biggest mistake that we've ever made the last 5 years? And everyone loves an underdog and they'll perceive me as the underdog. Do you know what they do in Hollywood? Epstein wouldn't fail here. What they do, everyone loves an underdog. So they painted Robert Downey Jr. as an underdog. Robert Downey Jr. did jail time, is now a $25 million a film artist. No one remembers the drugs anymore. You have to market people a certain way. Everyone loves a comeback story. Everyone loves a comeback story. You make yourself the victim. You rag yourself so bad that they actually feel bad for you. If Stearns got up there and said, I am mortified. I'm lucky my kids aren't old enough in school to get teased. I am mortified. I can't believe what a bad job I've done here. If he went up and said this and said, jokingly, how is it possible that every single thing I did was wrong? Like, I laugh. If you started seeing a human side of Stearns, it would help. The problem is you see a robotic side. And what is a robot? A robot has no feelings. So when you look at Stearns as a robot, you look at him as clueless. He doesn't give a shit. The first thing he'd have to do is humanize himself. I'll tell you something. I know the producer of the Fallon show. late night. This is a true story. When Donald Trump was running for the presidency, Jimmy Fallon joked around with his hair and went like that. Is it real? Is it real? When Fallon got off, they said, if you ever humanize him again, you're fired. You are not to humanize him. We want him to look terrible. As soon as you make him human and you start laughing with him, he's not so bad. Stearns has to make himself look terrible. And you'll have one person that'll say, well, at least he's fessing up. And then you'll almost start, yeah, he did, Laz. I know the producer of the show. At least he'd have one positive thing about him that you'd be able to say. He's a but he's embarrassed and he said that he's mortified. He brought his kids into it. He's glad they're not. He made himself like you for that 5 minutes. Then you'll say, yeah, can you imagine? My kids got teased in school. Everyone will remember when their kid got teased in school. Oh, that would be terrible. All of a sudden, you've humanized him. He's not the Met Pobo who's a jerk-off anymore. He's a father worried about his kids. You see what I mean? Let me work for the Mets. I'll straighten them out. So this is what you have to do. And you say to Theo, he'll take the meeting with Stearns and say, what do I do here? I'm a successful guy. This is killing me. My reputation's affected. I don't sleep at night. I'm like you. You wanted to win a World Series. Boston wasn't enough. You went for the challenge of, well, take the challenge of straightening us out. You're a god already. You'll be bigger than God if there's such a thing. Straighten the Mets out. After straightening a Red Sox franchise that was cursed, a Cub franchise that was cursed. Everyone says we're cursed. Lift the curse, Theo. What do we have to do here? You tell me what I have to do. And you have full autonomy. Make it interesting. It's not about money, Theo, because I can pay you anything I want. What do we do? Sit in my chair. You know what I would do? I'm being serious. I'll tell you how I got my big job at 30 years old. I'll show you something, just in case you don't believe me here. I know what I'm doing, people. That was me. I was the youngest VP in JP Morgan history in New York. NYU, that's where I went, NYU. I was the youngest. I know what I'm doing. And I will tell you this much. You let Theo sit in your chair. Theo, sit in my chair. You're the boss in this meeting. I'm sitting. I want to listen to you. You know how I got the dream job that everybody wanted at JP Morgan Chase? I bought the secretary flowers every day for 2 weeks, sent the roses. Went there with chocolate to get in to see the president of Bear Stearns. What's his favorite thing? Bruno Magli shoes. I went to the importer Tipped him $200. This is 1994. Tipped him. I think it was either $150 or $200. I need the newest Bruno Magli's that won't be on the market till Christmas. This was like August. I get the meeting with him. I bring a box in with Magli's, his size. There's one shoe. I said, this is for you. There's one shoe. He goes, oh my God, these are blah, 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 blah. Where's the other one? I said, right here. If I get the job, you get it. He said, I don't just give shoes out. I just don't give jobs out like that. I said, well, I don't give shoes out either. I would never go this far if I wasn't interested. I got the job. Why? Pattern disruption. The best way to stop someone when they're asking you a tough question, sneeze. They'll say, God bless you, and 32% of the time they'll forget what they were going to say. Pattern disruption. Theo, sit in my desk. First of all, Theo now has a story. Can you believe I'm probably the only one that ever sat behind his desk? What do I do? No, Brooklyn, but I got the job over 150 applicants. That's what you do. You humanize it. You make them feel like they have the power over a multi-billionaire. And you're both on the same, I want to protect my reputation. And you can be revered more than you are now. Did you ever think you could be more respected than you are today? Well, you can. By straightening out a franchise that everyone says is cursed, ours. You did it in Boston. You did it in Chicago. What's the biggest city in the world? Do it here. Do it for us. And I'll put a fucking statue in front of this place for you. 5 years. Theo Epstein. I'm not saying Theo Epstein would win a championship here in 5 years, but you could bet your ass no one would be on here like tonight on all the wardies and all them talking about fire sales on August 3rd. Wardy, I sort of comment, Wardy can't knock. Wardy has to be a bit of a shill. He has to be. You have to be. John Heyman gets called by Carlos Beltran. Well, how do you think Heyman has Met stuff? Beltran calls him. I didn't tell you that, but that's what happens. And the PR department, a girl, Sherry Titel, I just doxed her. Well, she's not there anymore. She used to call when they wanted a story to run. The PR department leaks stuff. You know who's the biggest leaker in the world? Scott Boras. Boras has newspaper guys on his payroll when he wants something to slip. No, Cyclone. It could be straightened out. It'll take 5 years. It would take 5 years. You would put an ad campaign. This is what I would do. And this is what I did for a living. You would first humanize the Mets. Cut parking. Listen, if you're going to take a $300 million loss, take a $500 million loss. What the fuck's the difference? Parking, half price the rest of the season. Why? We don't deserve for you to pay full price. You've got a half-ass product, half-ass, that's what you're paying, half. Until we deserve for you to spend your good money, we're going to take the hit with you. You come out like Drury did and Dolan did for the Rangers. You send an apology letter to every single subscriber, ticket subscriber, seasons ticket subscriber. I am apologizing wholeheartedly because I know that it's not easy out there and you take your hard-earned money. And believe me, it was not our plan to disappoint you. And believe me, you may not believe this, I'm just as disappointed. The first thing you have to do is humanize yourself. Everyone looks at Stearns as an arrogant asshole from Harvard, and Cohen, as long as he has his homes, you don't give a shit. If you realize that they get sick too, they bleed too, they eat, they shit, they do everything you do, they just don't tell you. Start telling the fans that, no, we suck. I threw my remote control across the thing and broke my $10,000 TV, even if Cohen has to do it. Yeah, absolutely. And what did they get? They got Abrams and two of the best players in Wood. If you humanize yourself, and this is what you do, very simple. Hey, James, Cohen calls Stearns, apologize or resign. David, this is ridiculous now. We're being compared to the 1962 Mets. I'm not blaming it only on you. I'm blaming it on me. I'll tell you why, because I hired you. We are the biggest disaster probably in baseball history. And the only thing that America loves is a comeback story. And fuck it, we're going to come back. Well, my friend the analyst said the Mets and the scouting department are very light on it. That's what they should start doing. But I humanize it. And the first thing you do is you apologize. And you start cutting costs. You start taking a loss. The Mets, no one has the spreadsheets and the LD files where you can look at how much Cohen, but if you pay half the park, you're going to know that, oh, he must be losing money. You have to put it out and spell it out so people understand it. And that's what you do. You let people understand that I'm not happy about this either. And just because I have billions doesn't mean I'm happy about it. Yeah, this is the worst. I think this is the worst season ever. Because in 1962, they were supposed to lose 1 million games. You humanize yourself. You send an apology. You take an apology letter out in the middle of the fucking New York Times like Yoko Ono did for John's birthday. To all Met fans, I am humbled and I regret that you have had to go through this with us. And you have my word that I don't sleep either. And we will do everything together. We are a family. We are the Mets. And we will turn this around. I know you've been patient before. I've asked you to be patient, and you've always been there for us. I'm only asking you to be there a little more for me. Buck was arguing with Stearns. He didn't want to do the analytic thing. Yeah, right. And I think that if you did that, you would at least surprise some people. And I really believe it would work. But you have to bring in the God of gods. You brought in the guy that thought he was a god in Stearns. You got to bring in the one that actually is, Theo Epstein. Because everyone is going to say Epstein won in Boston. They were never going to win. Then he goes to Chicago, wins there. They were never going to win. He can't help us. Theo Epstein in 5 years would help this organization. Doesn't mean they'd win the World Series, because it takes 5 to 7 years to really build up your system. But I really believe that he'd bring back credibility, where it wouldn't be such a circus anymore. He has 100% cred. And here's the difference. Epstein can't be bought. If Epstein comes here to straighten it out, you know he didn't come here for the money. He came here for the challenge. Epstein don't need money. He came here for the trifecta. 2 franchises that were brutally cursed and couldn't win, and now the 3rd in the biggest city in the country. First of all, Epstein takes over this team. If there's an announcement, you lose very few season ticket holders. You know why? You look out the window, the sun's starting to shine. What do people do? April 1st, Memorial Day, start planning summer vacation. We're going to be okay. It's the Poseidon Adventure. Theo is Gene Hackman. That's what you do. And let me tell you something. Yeah. Gio, if Stearns called the press conference tomorrow and said, "You want me to do a Stearns for you? Press 1. I'll do a Stearns for you." I'll tell you exactly. I would write his fucking thing for him. He wouldn't have a hat on. I'd say thank you all for coming. I don't know what you thought this was going to be about from watching the press conference yesterday, the rebuttal and comments. You probably thought that I was going to resign. That's why you're bothering. I'm not, but I'll tell you why. I'm not a quitter. I take responsibility for this. I take responsibility for Mendy losing his job. I take responsibility for Steve losing more money this year. And I take responsibility because every single frustration comment that comes out, I deserve. But I will tell you this much. I can't give you a guarantee I can change this. I'm not going to lie to you. It's like me guaranteeing you that you'll hit the lotto. But I will tell you, I will die trying. And thank you for sticking with us. The Mets deserve a lot more than I've given them. And you have my word that I'll go down trying. People aren't going to love him after that, but people are going to start to respect him. And he has to say what he's going to do. Maybe I've been too rigid in my thinking. The game maybe has changed. This isn't Milwaukee. Maybe I need to consider being uncomfortable and giving a contract that I don't want to be comfortable with. Part of being a GM is being uncomfortable. And maybe I always relished being comfortable. Maybe I have to walk out, be real uncomfortable for the check I just signed. That's how you start. Cohen contacts Theo Epstein right away. Do you know the buzz? First of all, and then you leak it. Your PR department leaks that Epstein had a meeting with Cohen. And you won't be talking about Robert tomorrow. You'll be talking about, holy shit, Theo's going to come here? You make it so much of a rumor that Theo actually says, I got to do it now. Everybody's talking about it. That's what you do. You let the Met fan buy into the concept that things can change. You know how I know they can? Did you ever think the Red Sox would win? And then after they won, the Cubs won. Guess who did it? The man right here, Theo Epstein, the new executive vice president of the New York Mets. You'd have people there with a can trying to fund it. Yes, James, I'm going to be doing a New York Rangers show with my analyst. He's a hockey guy. He's terrific. Yes, there has to be a clear direction, and everyone knows that Theo will have that direction. And Theo's been in baseball long enough now. It's not too long ago that he won the series 23 years ago. He's young enough. He's in his 50s. And it would be a big challenge for him. What better way to fuck over the Yankees again? You were the Red Sox guy. You fucked the Yankees over. Now you can be the Met guy and fuck the Yankees over. How is that for a daily double? And you get part of the casino. And Theo, you'll be immortalized. You sell him like a Don Corleone for Immobiliare in Godfather 3. Your family's name will be immortalized. Money that you'll have to weigh. You don't have to count it. You'll have to buy a scale. Oh, believe me, if I was in on that meeting, I took a meeting in 1991. Donald Trump was in the meeting. And he said, I don't like your tie. I said, would you rather me make you 9% and put on anything you want? Or would you rather me make you 15% and pick my own clothes? He said, continue. That's a good one, PJ. And I think that, look, he had Manny for years. No, I think that you need a star. Soto brings people into the building. Well, it's doing it in Boston and then doing it. You did it to two clubs that were perceived to be cursed. I don't know who was considered to be cursed more, Boston or Chicago. Theo Epstein brings you players back. People will want to come play here because they know eventually they're going to win here because Theo don't lose. Soto could bring you back a haul. It would be tough to trade partners, but absolutely. If you were willing to take $100 million hit, or more than that, you would get a haul for Soto. For Soto, I'll give you a for instance. I don't think the Yankees would ever do it, but for a trade, Ben Rice and Schlittler would be two of them. Lombard. You take an infielder, an outfielder, and a pitcher. Hey, D. That's what you do. The first thing you do is you humanize yourself. You're not the Met owner anymore. David Stearns, you're not the arrogant asshole anymore. You're the guy that really is embarrassed as hell, and you're really lucky your kids aren't of age where they get teased in school. Because every parent, what's your biggest regret or what is your biggest fear? That your kids get tormented in school. So right there, you've humanized them. Oh, he's a parent too. if you humanize them, it's hard to hate them. But I think you can make this go away. This season, honestly, I could tell you what half the Met fans would say. They would say, I'm glad we had a season like this if it took this to get Theo Epstein here. There's not one Met fan that would be upset about this season if Theo Epstein came in because of it. Do you agree? It's like lifting weights, no pain, no gain. You had to have a season. Maybe, game. Maybe. And I just think that things can be done here. I truly think that. I don't think it's a lost. I think it's a lost cause if something's not done within the next year. I think something has to be done right within a reasonable amount of time. And I think, to me, if you want to really regain the respect of your fans, you bring Theo Epstein in. Because put it this way, if you bring Theo Epstein in, the first thing you've done is admit that you fucked up. And that's strong. When people take accountability, right? That's very strong when people take accountability. Now, I see some people, and I've gotten some emails, and I want to answer them, but a couple of them are personal, like about other content providers, and I don't want to talk about any content providers. But I will, because some people have brought some up. One is, who is my favorite YouTube host that does stuff on the Mets? I'm a little prejudiced with that. I like Wardy, but he's a kid. I like Ryan, but I think Ryan is a little too matter of fact. I love Locked On Mets, but Ryan's a little too matter of fact. I don't think he shows enough personality. Wardy probably shows too much personality, but that's because he's 23 years old. But I don't doubt. I think Wardy's very talented. I think he does a very nice job. In fact, when I watched him on SNY with his two counterparts, I think Wardy is much better on a panel, because I think he relaxes on a panel. I think Wardy gets uptight when he's doing his show one-on-one. I think that when Wardy has people to bounce with, if you notice, do you see a difference when Wardy's with two guys talking? Wardy takes it down a notch. He's much more in control of what he's going to say. I like Mark. I like Rob. I like Rob. I was just saying it. I like Rob a lot. Till Mets do us part. No, I like Rob. I think he's very. I think Rob is real. See, you got to remember, guys, I like real. First, I'm 30 years older than all these kids, but I'm not trying to get a job with the Mets. I can talk about things that they can't talk about. I can't blame them for not wanting to lose jobs. You know, you know what I like about Joe? Joe is like me. He don't give a shit. See, I could give a shit if any of them like me. I don't care. I don't want to knock them. Oh, I don't want to insult them. Certainly not. They've never done anything to me. But I own my house. I have 3 cars. I don't have to do this for a living. I do this because of you guys. I don't make any money on here. StreamYard costs me $59 a month. I barely make that per month. It's just what you give me. I can't put in the amount of a super chat. It becomes too self-indulgent, almost like arrogant. Cyclone. He's reeled in a bit when he's with the 2 other guys. But look, I think that he's a young kid. You gotta remember, he's 23 years old. He's a kid. But I think he's very, very knowledgeable. And I think he really tries. I think he really cares. And that means something to me. I think he really cares. And we should be proud that the younger generations like him. D, I appreciate it. I do. But I try to be honest with you guys. Now, you know, these kids know Salmon. I know a Met pitcher in the clubhouse. You know, I know Freddie Peralta's agent. I grew up with him, Sam and Seth Levinson. I have a lot of Omar Minaya. I worked with him. We had my friend on. My friend knows all of them. I have some ins that other people don't. I don't take advantage of it. But like I told you guys last week, Holmes was definitely going to the Cubs. And I said, I'll bet anybody that wants to bet me, if you remember that. He was going to the Cubs. The Mets were trying to give them Minter. They had no interest in Minter. Tried to give them Raley. They didn't want Raley. Because I was told that. You know, when Soto got hurt, when he left the game after 15 minutes, my friend texted me and I told you, well, he's out. He's going for an MRI. He's on a disabled list. And then I told you when Alvarez, when he twisted his knee, my friend texted me and said he's going for an MRI tomorrow. He tore his cartilage. He's probably out for 6 weeks. I remember I told you that like 10 minutes after he got hurt. My friend, because my friend knows the team doctor. And the team doctor sent him to Lenox Hill. And the team doctor said it's a torn cartilage. We're just going to confirm it. They wanted to make sure he didn't tear his ACL. But it was a torn cartilage. They knew it 5 minutes. And that's when I told you guys what it was. Yeah, they wouldn't trade Weaver back when the Mets had a shot. I said that. They had to trade Weaver. No one wanted. They tried to trade Williams. No one wanted him. But I didn't think they would trade Weaver in the beginning. I didn't, because they had him for next year. But that was the only guy that they can get anything for, really. He's the same. So I met Ken Rosenthal. He actually, you'll get a kick out of this. See if I can find it for you. I was with his son and his. He's a nice guy, Ken Rosenthal. I had a beer with him. I bought him a beer. About 5 years ago. Let's see when this was. Yeah, Ken Rosenthal is like 5'4". He's a small guy. Ken Rosenthal, my friend's his broker. Ken Rosenthal's worth like $100 million. Got a ton of money, Ken Rosenthal. I'll find it and I'll post it in my posts. Yeah, because they wanted that prospect. They could have got the number 29 prospect. That's the only way they were getting him. And they wanted him. He's the top 100. That kid will be number 90 or 85 next year. He has a tremendous upside. Although I think that my friend swears that Jefferson Rojas is another Gleyber Torres. He told me that. He said, Vin, in 5 years, he's going to be Gleyber Torres. And this guy knows his stuff. He was Omar's assistant. I used to work with Omar in 1984. Omar got the job at the Texas Rangers, and he signed Sosa. He's a very good guy. He thinks that Aiden Smith can become someone like Harrison Bader. He thinks that Gary Gill-Hill could be like a Miles Mikolas from the Cardinals. I don't know what that is. He thinks that Stafora could be an Anthony Volpe type of player. Hopefully better. But yeah, no, look. It took the Mets, 10 players, but they did get 2 players that will be playing with this team in 2 years. I totally expect Petrie to be a starter for the Mets as quick as next year, probably. And I think that Stafora needs a little work. Petrie's better than Jet Williams. I heard that, yeah. Harrison Bader, yeah. He's going to lose his salary. There's a clause in your salary. They'll execute that clause. I'm going to show you something. Oh, my friend just texted me. Volpe was sent down. George Lombard Jr. was brought up. He'll be in a lineup tomorrow for the Yankees. So Volpe, season's over with them. This is a very, very telling thing here. I'm going to find it for you. I'm going to find this. Okay, I want you to listen very carefully because for a guy that has control of everything he says, he screwed up big time right here. Listen to this. Listen to what he says.
Has the ability to play all three, a very well-rounded offensive profile, young for his level, has really done exactly what you would want to see a player do who was a very well thought of amateur on the international market and has really just performed and progressed throughout his development. All of our reports are extremely hard worker and is going to fit in very well to our organization.
And along the same lines, how about Stafora?
What? Listen.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing that jumps off the page with you on Stafora is the defense. He's got tremendous defensive ability. He's a very good base runner, can impact the game in a variety of different ways, help you win ball games in a variety of different ways. And and clearly has power as well. And so when you begin to talk about a power hitting infielder who we believe can play shortstop at a high level,
play shortstop at a high level, your captain of the team is the shortstop for 5 years. Play shortstop at a high level, you have a shortstop. Why do you care if he can play shortstop? He slipped. He slipped. He's going to ask Lindor to waive his no trade clause. I was actually told that. I was told that they started talking about it, and it's a conversation for the offseason. But you see how he said he could play. Why would you say he could play shortstop? That's like saying he could play left field. You think he'd slip and say that with Soto here? You think he would have ever slipped and said he could play right field with Benj in right field? Or catcher? You think he would have ever said that? Or he could play shortstop. You have a shortstop for the next 5 years. Because you don't want him here. Stearns wants him gone. That is a Freudian slip. Absolutely. Of course. And he wants him gone. Absolutely, Gio. You don't make a mistake like that. You can play short. And, the way he said it, I'll see if I can cue it up again, because the way he said it, he didn't even – it just came out. It was really scary how easy it came out.
And as I said before, when you have that combination, whether it's doubles powers, home run power, plus someone who you think can play at a high level at shortstop, those aren't
high level at shortstop. Why would you say a high level at shortstop? You have a shortstop for the next 5 years. That's because he doesn't want Lindor here. They don't want Lindor. You know what? I'll tell you something. And I try to separate this because, I do talk to people that this has nothing to do with anybody saying anything to me. This is just my opinion. I think that they know that Lindor's not happy here. Lindor's not happy here. He's happy in New York with his family. His wife isn't going to leave anytime soon. Just bought a $29 million penthouse. But this now officially is no longer Lindor's team. This is Soto's team. You see Benj and Ewing, they run over, they talk to Soto. Soto talks to Robert. You never see him talking to Lindor. Lindor, this is not his team anymore. You're going to have all young guys coming up. You just got 12 guys today. All the young guys that come up, who do you think that they look up to? Lindor or Soto? You think they want to be Lindor, or do you think they want to be Soto? Soto is one of the best players in the last 50 years. Lindor isn't. He's good. But yeah, game maybe. But you don't make a mistake like that. You don't make a mistake like that. That was not. I'm actually wondering if it was intentional, like just another thing to make him uncomfortable. because they sure. Soto is aloof, but you know what? He can afford to be. He's one of the 3 best players in baseball for the next 10 years. Look at LeBron James. What a piece of shit he is. But if you want to win the champion, Jordan was a piece of shit. But if you want to win the championship, you'll deal with the piece of shit. But you know what? I believe Lindor gets traded. Yeah, and you can see he doesn't want Lindor here. You don't make a mistake like that. Like he could play shortstop. You have a shortstop for the next 5 years. I can see if Lindor was 35. You don't say that when you have an all-star shortstop. He doesn't want him here because they've made their decision. You know when they decided to make it Soto's team? When Steve Cohen said there won't be a captain. Because there was going to be a captain last year. The PR department was putting it together. My friend was there when they were putting the 8-minute promo together. And they scratched it. This is Soto's team. Look, I don't think he disliked Alonso. Not at all. I think Lindor was in a bad position and had to stick up for his wife. That's what I think. And can't blame him for that. He'd be a prick if he didn't, right? He's outnumbered there. Yeah, you're not going to win a championship with Lindor and all these young players. You'll win it with Soto and all these young players. You know, bases loaded, 2 out, bottom of the 9th. Who do you want up, Lindor or Soto? That's your answer. Out of 50 GMs, I think if you asked who would you rather face, Soto or Ohtani, most of them would say Ohtani. Yeah, I think that now, you know, to be honest, and I don't know him, I've never met him, Stearns doesn't seem to be a bad guy. You know, I don't think he's an evil guy. I think he's socially awkward. I think he is a much better behind-the-scenes guy who, unfortunately, when he's Pobo, he never has to do another press conference. The GM will do it. I don't think he's comfortable. But, yeah, he handled a couple of things very poorly. He handled Diaz very poorly. Now, true, Stearns has no obligation to call Diaz and say, we're signing Williams. He's the guy making the trades. Diaz is an employee. Diaz used that as an excuse. Like you're looking to break up with your girlfriend and she was 2 minutes late. Well, that's it. I can't take it anymore. I'm not going out with you anymore. He was using that as an excuse, Diaz. Diaz wanted out of here. And he had his excuse that he didn't have to look like a prick to the fans. Well, Gio, I could see something like that. Or I could maybe Philly, somewhere, Baltimore. I would think he would. I think he still has 3 good years left. Lindor next year, 150 games. 23 and 78, 255, 30 doubles, 2 triples, 18 stolen bases, +1 defensively. The year later, 248, 20 and 70, 25 doubles, 15 steals, neutral defensively. A year later, at 35, 36, it'll be a -1 or 2 defensively. Absolutely. And they're losing Freddie Freeman. They'd have another veteran. You got to remember, their window is going to be up soon, too, the Dodgers. They're not going to be great forever. You know, they're not a young team. A bunch of the guys are in their 30s now. Edwin Diaz, he'll be 33 next baseball season. Eric Lauer, 31. Skubal will be 31 next year. Ohtani's going to be 33 next year. Mookie Betts, he'll be 35 next year. Freddie Freeman, 38. Enrique Hernandez, 35. Max Muncy, 36. Miguel Rojas, 38. Teoscar Hernandez, 34. Andy Podges, 27. Kyle Tucker, 30. They're not that young. Yamamoto, 29. But they're not the youngest team in the world. And you got to remember, when Mookie Betts and Freeman, all next year will be their last year. But, yeah, Freddie Freeman's going to be gone. Mookie Betts is going to be older. They had their run. That's why I believe that Dave Roberts will retire. If they win the World Series this year, Dave Roberts will retire. And Alex Cora will go right to LA. That's why he held out and didn't go to Philly. I was told because he wants to see what happens in LA. He's looking to go to LA, Cora. Cora will not take the Met job. Stearns is fine with Beltran. They're close. But you have to remember, Beltran doesn't have a coaching staff. So who's going to hire it? Stearns. They'll keep Kai Correa. J.D. Martinez will be added. Albert Pujols will be added. PJ, let me just tell you something. And I believe this. I totally believe this. If the Mets have a starting five next year of McLean, Scott, honestly, I don't have as much faith in Zach Thornton as a lot of people. Zach Thornton, he's going to be a 4.5 ERA guy. True. But I think next year you'll probably see Petre in the lineup at some point. Maybe in September. You'll see Stafora. But you have a couple of pitchers. I think Gabe Davis will come up this year. He'll be in the bullpen. Once he gets settled in. Gabe Davis will be in the bullpen this year. And you're looking at possibly in 28, Clifford or Billy Amick at first base. Santucci, absolutely. You're right. Forgot about him. Well, I think Beltran is going to be the manager cyclone. Gary Gilhill will be he'll be like your Thornton. And then they'll sign some free agents. I think you're going to have Bichette next year. Look, the Mets can make the playoffs next year. I know it sounds ridiculous. They can make the playoffs this year. Next year. Absolutely. Because you have to remember, if you don't trade Lindor, a third of your lineup is Lindor, Soto, and Bichette. Now, I'm going to give you stats. Okay? Forget that this is the Met team. And I'm going to lowball it. I'm going to give you Ewing next year. Hey, Rob. Ewing leading off. 12 homers, 60 RBIs, 255 average, 40 steals. And I don't think I'm being too generous there. He could hit 270. Let's give Soto 38, 107, 280, 35 doubles. That's not a monster year. That's a Soto year. Not a great year, not a bad year. Benj. Let's go 18 and 73, 260 with 30 doubles and 30 steals. Lindor, let's say 22 homers, 75 RBIs, 260, 30 doubles. Let's say Bichette, 21 homers, 90 RBIs, 285, 35 doubles. Let's say Alvarez, 20 homers, 70 RBIs, 250, 20 doubles. And Petre, let's say 8 homers, 50 RBIs, 250. That lineup is not a bad lineup. Petre, yeah, that's I put him there. Petre is going to hit at minimum 250. He's not going to strike out. Petre is going to be Ewing. You see Ewing? That's Petre. That lineup right there. It's not the best lineup in baseball, but it's certainly not a lineup that you could say, oh, how could they go to the playoffs? That's a lineup that can go to the playoffs. Now, if you have McLean, Scott, you could have Tong, Thornton. I think you're going to have probably, I told you, they're going to make Tobias Myers a starter. They're going to stretch him out and make him a starter. They're blaming themselves on him that they screwed him up at the beginning of the year. Santucci, Thornton could be traded. I think the thing you have to do is build a bullpen. Yeah, Vientos and Beatty. Wenninger, thank you, PJ. I forgot him. That team can't win 87 games. And you have his checkbook still. And you know, if Stearns goes, we got to get this guy, he's going to get him. I'm praying that they don't go for the second baseman from the Yankees. You can't bring him in this clubhouse. He'd be a disaster with Lindor. Oh, my God. And the bullpen next year. Daniel Nunez will be one of the relievers next year. You have Garrett back. You have the guy who has the brother on Milwaukee. You have him back. You have guys coming back next year. And you have Lambert, McGill. You have Lambert, 99 miles an hour. You have the other guy, I forget his name, 99 miles an hour. That's why Stearns felt okay with getting Ross. So next year, you're going to have Nunez, Ross. You're going to have McGill, probably Nate Lavender, Lambert, Davis. You're going to have enough, and that's what it is. Yes, Senga. He's not worried about the bullpen. The Mets have 4 guys coming back that were very effective. Garrett was very effective, and Nunez was very effective. You can't tell me that Nunez can't have a 3.5 ERA and Garrett can't have a 3. I believe they can. And they have guys that are going to throw 97 to 99. You're right. McGill throws 97. Lambert throws 98. Ross throws 98. I'm not worried about their bullpen next year, nor are they. That's why he got rid of everybody. He wasn't ready. He wasn't, and you have Devin Williams still. The bullpen will be fine next year. Bullpen will be fine. They need, honestly, to get an ace. If they ever signed Skubal, I don't know if they would. And I don't know if he'd come here. But I'll tell you something. If they got, I don't know, the guy from Minnesota, a guy like Michael King, you need, Joe Ryan, King. You need a starter that's going to give you 190 innings and have a 3.5 ERA. Sonny Gray won't come to New York. He doesn't like him yet. Joe Ryan might. I don't think Joe Ryan's an ace. I think he's overrated. But you know what? But Joe Ryan will pitch to a 3.5 ERA and strike out 190 guys in 180 innings. Joe Ryan projects like Dylan Scott, like Christian Scott. That's the projection. I think is close. Christian Scott's going to have to learn another pitch. They're going to work with him. First base, I would think you'll either have Ryan. I think that the Mets will platoon first base next year. I think you could see Ryan, Clifford, and a right-handed bat. But I think, Clifford, you want 30 homers and 80 RBIs from first base. You can find that. No doubt in my mind, Clifford, half a season will probably hit you 12. Polanco will be on this team. Simeon, I think I was told Simeon's going to get released. They're going to buy him out. They're going to have they'll buy him out. They'll come up to an agreement. Polanco, yeah, I could see Polanco and Clifford. Polanco's a switch hitter. And maybe Polanco and Clifford, maybe this kid that they just got. I don't know. I think that the Mets are praying that Devin Williams has an amazing second half and they could dump him. Soto, I think they think, I mentioned that to my friend. They thought Soto was too short to play first. They thought that he was too short to play first. You have Morabito next year. Morabito's going to hit 230. He's not a hitter. But that's your fourth outfielder. I would be surprised, honestly, if Jared Young is not at least platooned. I think Jared Young has earned his way onto this team to be a platoon bat at first base. So is it possibly Jared Young and Polanco? Polanco plays first base against lefties. Jared Young against righties. I just do not want to see Vientos. I don't want to see Vientos. And I don't want to see Beatty. Vientos won't be on the team next year. I don't know about Beatty. I think they still feel that Beatty's a very useful player. You got to remember, too, Beatty doesn't make any money, really. He's a guy that can play third, second, first. There's no telling what could happen in spring training. You know, if you played him out in the outfield and he went to Florida and instructional league, whatever, could Beatty become a serviceable outfielder? I guess. Look, I bet you didn't think that Bichette could ever play third base. Kai Correa had him 2 months, and he was playing an above-average third base. You can get an outfield guru, a guy that is an amazing outfield teacher, and have Beatty work with him all spring. I think they will look into a package for Alvarez. Well, PJ, yeah, I think getting moved around to every position definitely screws your head up. You don't know when you're in the lineup. But he can't catch up to a fastball. I looked at his bat speed. Beatty can't catch up to a fastball, anything at the letters. No, Jan could be an idiot. Let's see if I could find it. He can be successful though. He can be successful. He does have some stuff. Let me see if I can get it for you. Then I'm going to let you guys go to sleep because I'm sure you're very tired. Okay. Let's have some fun before we all go to sleep. Thank you for being up so late. I really appreciate it. Okay, let's see what we have to look forward. This is the stuff that we have to look forward to this summer. Not what team we're going to play in the playoffs.
The second to pitch, swing and a miss with a pitch in the dirt. And there's the jump and the splits by Jan again after his second strikeout.
He'll tear his hamstring the first game.
That is Rocky's left-hander, Jeffrey Jan, who gave this quote to MILB. I'm electric. I like to have fun. I enjoy baseball.
This is what we're looking for.
By now, you may have seen Jeffrey Jan's emphatic strikeout celebration, and no, it's not going away anytime soon.
Nothing to yawn about, that's for sure.
Very nice. He is triple.
This is what we're going there for. Now, I'll tell you something. No, I agree with you, PJ. There is one thing that you're going to kill me that I'm going to say. And I know you're going to make fun of me, but just think I'm always here for you guys. Don't make too much fun of me. I would like to see, can't believe I'm saying this, Robert play 130 games next year. Healthy. I would just be curious of what his stats would be. He'd probably hit 25 homers, knocking 70, and hit like 210. That, you know, Rob, I can see the Mets signing. Holmes wanted to pitch here. I think if Peralta ever got signed here, Stearns would get hit. He'd get hit. They'd be all over the news. Mob hit. The Cosa Nostra. Holmes is going to want 3 years at $70 million. That's what he's going to want. 3 at 70. DH. No, I would DH him. I'd like him to get 450 at-bats. You'd get 20 homers. Now, I'll tell you something also that I don't think, honestly, I'm starting to see. Ewing isn't a great outfielder. Ewing has great speed and gets to the ball. but he's not a great outfielder. Benj is unbelievable. Benj is a great out. And I was a little down on Benj's defense because I thought he just tried too hard. But he's just the couple of catches he's made this year. And his arm is unbelievable. The Mets are set in the outfield for at least 3 years, depending on how long you want to keep Soto in left. Yeah, another one, Rob. Yeah, Manaea. You have to keep him. You can't get rid of him. But look, is it so bad, honestly, if Manaea next year went 12-10 with a 4.25 ERA and 180 innings? It's worth $12 million. I'm not worried about it. I just I thought he was going to be like a Gold Glove guy. I think he's going to be a shade under that. I think Benj will win the Gold Glove one day. But look, I think we can be modestly. Now, someone told me about Wardy being like Michael Kay. What was that about? I saw it in here. I think Wardy beats up the Mets when he has to. He's got to be careful, though. I could be more of a fan on here. When I'm angry, I could really take it out on here. I don't have to worry that the police squad at SNY is watching, saying, "Did you see what he said about Ewing?" Does he rant? I'm not on there long enough to see it. Yeah. No, he's a nice kid. He's not looking to hurt anybody. Definitely not. I hope he does well. Look, I root for young guys. My son's 31, and he's like 23. I root for him. I think he does a nice job. I think he really tries hard, and God bless him. God bless him. I like Ryan from Lockdown. I like Mark. What's it, Giraffe Neck Mark or whatever they call him? I think he's good. I like him. I think he's very knowledgeable. I think he is pretty good. They're kids. That's what it is. I think Jolly's good. I'll tell you who I love, Jerry Blevins. I think Blevins is great. And Blevins is politically correct, too, if you notice. Blevins, it's hard. When you're a former player, it's hard for you to talk. You have to kind of be careful. Yes, he is, Gio. He's very passionate about his team. That's not an act. Wardy's very passionate about his team. Ryan never gets too crazy. But Ryan's also, you're probably 7-8 years older than Wardy. And when you get to be my age, you'll see it means a lot, but not as much as certain things, But look, I don't say it enough. Honestly, thank you so much for coming in and hanging with me. It means a lot to me. It truly does. And I'm sorry I kept you guys up so late. I think that Locked On thing is great. I love it. Nelson Figueroa, he got fired from the Mets, Nelson Figueroa. He had a fight with one of the SNY guys. And Bobby Ojeda also. Bobby's rough. Bobby's an old school guy. He's not taking any shit. So thank you, everybody. Yes, you're right. You're right, PJ. You're right. Oh, you're very welcome, JJ. And I'll give you something that I don't have to. In the booth, probably next year, Johnny Franco might replace Howie Rose. There you go. I just gave it to you. So, or be in the booth. He's going to do some games, and so will Daniel Murphy. So, everyone, thank you. And you're right, PJ. I get political, and it's just out of, I joke around a lot too. My friends call me a closet lib. I don't know. Better being in the closet that way than any other way. So I will see you guys. Thank you, PJ. I'll see you guys soon. Okay, see you tomorrow night. God bless you guys. Have a good night. Go to sleep.